The next piece of news is Paul Millsap. Thoughts on the Olympics? We have a new choke artist. Preseason schedule is out in a moment or two on Andrei Karolinko. It's all coming up in this morning's edition of Tip Off. Boom, 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 boom. Have you ever had to try to find a cricket inside your house? Boom, 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 boom. They're really cool in nature, but when they're clipping over your head and chirping all night long, it drives you bananas. Boom, 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 boom. And then if you move toward them, they stop making sounds. That's their defense mechanism. Boom, 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 boom. Killed the little sucker and slept well last night. Boom, 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 boom. It's Tip Off. Hi there. Happy Monday. Sorry about Friday's edition. What? Oh, I'll actually tell you what happened. I had my day all planned out, and I went on a very early 6 a.m. bike ride, and then was going to come back and do tip-off. And on my bike ride, I was coming down. For those of you mountain bike, I was coming down Spiro. Halfway down, it was closed, which meant I had to climb back up Spiro, come down a different trail, but that took an extra 35, 40 minutes, and that was the time in which the nicely outlined, here it is, nicely outlined from the other day, version of tip-off was to be recorded before a 10 o'clock meeting. Today, early edition of this because we have our Jazz sponsors golf tournament, which is fun. I go sit at one hole and take a shot for everybody in their scramble. I never end up helping anyone. It's the same darn shot on the same darn green every year, and I never do any good. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. One note I just wanted to share with you guys. I was over at my friends at Level 9 Sports the other day, and they have they're experimenting with bike stuff. And so if you're a biker, road or mountain, you probably should run over there. They've got a bunch of from one of the best Italian bike makers. They had to make them their own kind of special line. And I went out on a ride yesterday using some of it, and it was terrific. So just check it out. If you're a biker, stop by there. I mean, great bibbed biking pants that regular like 180 for like 65 bucks or something like that. I mean, it's just nutty. So they have just a great line of stuff. So it's worth stopping by. Usually I talk about Level 9 ski guys. I'm sure I will again since I'm a big fan of, that's where I get all my ski stuff, and big fan of their model and what they do and the guys over there. But so they have some bike stuff. They're just trying it out, see if it works, see if they can create a marketplace for that as well as their winter program. That's they are, if you come off the 6 South exit, you should turn right on 4th West. All right. Paul Millsap, we kind of knew this would be we talked about this, that this would be the next piece of news, is whether the Jazz can get an extension with Paul Millsap. And as has been accurately and well reported in the Salt Lake Tribune, the Jazz are very hamstrung on this. They can only give Paul a X percentage raise, like 107.5%, in the new collective bargaining agreement after the last year, which means that all they can offer him is a 3-year, $25 million deal. That is a touch below what Paul is and his agents are going to believe his market value is. When you look at what went down in the offseason, Gerald Wallace got $10 million, Andrei Karolinko got $10 million, Nicholas Batum got $9 million. The only one who switched teams, Ryan Anderson, got $8 million. Now, I'm going to make an argument here for a moment on this, that there's an argument here that Paul should actually consider taking this. I don't think he will. Agents don't usually take the conservative route. Because if their client ever feels as though they left money on the table, they end up losing their job. But if you actually look at what took place on the NBA marketplace this year, the only 2 players that switched teams that got paid, and really got paid a decent amount, unless I'm missing someone, are really, there's only 3 players who switched teams. One was Brandon Roy, who'd been amnestied, so he couldn't come back. Another was Andrei Karolinko, who got offered $10 million from Minnesota, and because of the collective bargaining situation, we weren't able to do anything with it. We didn't have the right to match it or do anything, and we'd already used our money and probably didn't entirely want him back. And he had a huge offer from Europe, which kind of gave him some leverage. And then the one guy who really got an offer from another team was Ryan Anderson. And Ryan Anderson got a 4-year, $36 million deal. Now, Brandon Bass, who Paul's career numbers are better than, but they're pretty similar players. Bass averaged 13 points and 6 rebounds last year, coming off the bench and starting some for Boston. And Paul was 17 and 8, so Paul's a notch above that. There's no question. Brandon Bass got a 3-year 20. So I would agree that the Jazz offer, which is the most they can offer, it's a very nice statement from the Jazz to Paul Millsap. We care about you. We don't know if you're starting next year. We don't know what your role is going to be. But we would like to give you the biggest commitment we possibly can. 3-year 25. If Bass got 3-year 20 and Anderson got 4-year 36, Anderson's really at, is it about $8.5 million a year? And that's where I'm sure Millsap's saying he should be. But Bass got 6.5 a year, and there's a chance Paul's not starting this year, and that he's going to probably, instead of being a 17 and 8 guy, suddenly become a 13 and 6 guy. Why not possibly secure yourself something that's awfully close to what you're going to get? The marketplace that was there this year, Ryan Anderson, as I'm mentioning, Nicholas Batum's a little different. I don't know if that's a good comparison. Batum is a small forward, and I think he's thought of as a higher level player than Paul. And ironically enough, for both the cases, Anderson and Batum as restricted free agents, if they get an offer, it's big. We saw this with Paul. When restricted free agents actually get offers, they are larger than you would anticipate because they've got to make the other team react. So I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but so there's the market. The market's set somewhere kind of at the 9. Gerald Wallace and Andre were set at 10. I don't think that's a fair marketplace. Then Anderson's around 9, and Bass is at 6.5. Those are the places. And so Paul's being offered right around $8 million at 3-year 25. It's being dismissed immediately that he won't take it. The only thing I really think that Paul's giving up here is that 4th year. And because the marketplace did depress in the new collective bargaining agreement a little, and is only going to depress more next year. When the punitive taxes kick in some of those areas, suddenly those players, those teams, the Knicks letting Jeremy Lin go, the Bulls letting Asik go, those teams that have usually been huge spenders are cutting back, and the marketplace is not as vibrant without as many people in it. And I think Paul, in all likelihood, can get an offer of 4 years for more than, for right around the same number. But there's also some areas, an injury, a little bit of an off year. He had a career low shooting percentage last year. Coming off the bench instead, there's some possibilities where he gets less than the 3-year $25 million and goes to the Bass 3-year $20 million. And I think the other question you'd have to ask is, when you look at Paul Millsap as a power forward in the NBA, if you were another GM and you have big cap space, are you unloading the Brinks truck to be able to sign Paul Millsap and feel as though he is a franchise changer to who you are? Right? I mean, is he a game changer? Does he sway who you are as a franchise? And then have to look at, who it only takes one. Okay? So the fact that I could run through a bunch of teams and say Oklahoma City's unlikely probably to add him, and Portland's unlikely to add him, and Minnesota has Kevin Love, and we run through all these teams, and the Lakers have Gasol and they have Bynum, and you run through all these teams and it seems unlikely, and you don't find one. It only takes one. Clippers have Blake. But so ask yourself, if you're an opposing GM, does going to the owner and saying, hey, we just got Paul Millsap, does it move your season ticket base? Does it change your win total? How much does it help you as a team? And then, so understanding that, then discuss whether you really think maybe at 3 years, $25 million, Paul should take that. Because really, it's off this year also, so it's not, it's 4-year 32. It's really, if you include in this year, it's not dramatically off what Ryan Anderson got, who is restricted, and was the highest paid player to switch teams. The other angle that's at least worth mentioning, if Paul sees he's going to be coming off the bench, that may not be something Paul really wants to do long term. To some extent, by Paul signing this extension, does he in turn concede that for the rest of his career he's trying to win the Sixth Man of the Year award? And is that enough for him? So it's a very interesting situation. We kind of knew it was the next deal coming up. It is hamstrung a little bit by the new collective bargaining agreement. And I think Paul has earned that crazy contract he got from Portland and has lived up to every bit of it. You are building off that. Realize, Paul's done a nice job of having himself put himself in the marketplace where his numbers are built off that Portland deal. Preseason schedule came out on, I think, Friday, as we anticipated. It really fits the model of what the Jazz have always done, and it's an interesting. If you ever wonder just kind of what detail your franchise goes to make sure that things work the way they want to, this is a good example. They play an opening road game at Golden State. They like to play on the road in the preseason early. They come home then for an extended period of time before, I believe, playing Oklahoma City, which allows kind of almost for a second training camp. Your first training camp is leading up into that Golden State game. Now you've got a game experience. Now we're going to build off that and give a second one. And then they go on the road for 5 days. And this is where you find out a lot about your guys. Are they out partying? Are they focused? Do they stay engaged on the road? Are they trying to set up what their next social event is? Are they there practicing, trying to make the team? Are they so excited for the NBA experience that they don't plug in? And then how do they deal on the road? And I think those are all things that the Jazz are trying to see. They play a back-to-back in that set, which is something they've always wanted to do. They play 3 games in 4 nights, which is something that they believe in doing. So the schedule is very detailed, and it's done that way on purpose, which I think gives you just a little idea of just the level of detail that this organization goes to, and you would hope that most do. Andre Karolinko, we mentioned it just a moment ago. I wanted to mention it again. So the situation there was because he didn't play for the Jazz last year, the Jazz were unable to sign and trade him. There was some confusion, and I actually was wrong on it early, got some wrong information, but that's the situation. So the Jazz actually just kind of didn't have anything they could do with Andre other than re-sign him. And I do think he'll be very helpful to Minnesota and very good. He's a very, very, very good basketball player. And if they are playing him, particularly if they are not relying on him, though I think he may start, they will be very pleased. And then the other question is just what position does he play? I still think Andre is a better power forward than he is a small forward. And it just, with Paul Millsap's development, that role went away in a lot of ways in Salt Lake City. Quick note for you on the Olympics. Jonas Valanciunas, who was the pick for Toronto, I think he was number 5 in that draft. Cantor was number 3. A few comments from Twitter doesn't necessarily mean a lot of people, but there's a lot, Valanciunas, and it was almost as though by sitting out a year, everybody kind of loved him. He's been awful in the Olympics. And what was interesting to me about that is we had a draft of very young, inexperienced bigs 2 years ago with Cantor and Valanciunas and Tristan Thompson, and everybody saw Cantor, and then everybody saw Thompson, and nobody saw Valanciunas, and it somehow made Valanciunas better. And now we watch and we see all of them, and they're all about the same spot. There's all reasons why you like them, and they all are under 20 years old and inexperienced bigs, coming out of different systems, Turkey, Canadian system, to college. It was what Tristan Thompson did and Valanciunas, and now they are all trying to develop. And it's curious to me that Valanciunas kind of, because I think we didn't see any flaws for a year, went away. He's going to help, but he's also going to be completely outmanned with Portland. Excuse me, with Toronto. I tweeted about it yesterday. There's an amazing article written pre-Athens Olympics on Michael Phelps. It's worth a read. I sent that link out. And then Jim Furyk is certainly glad the Olympics are going on because he just choked again yesterday. And that is, if everyone missed it after choking at the U.S. Open, he had a one-stroke lead going into 18. He double bogeys. Keegan Bradley pars it and wins. Have a good one, guys. I will talk to you soon.